The courtroom was colder than I expected, not because of the air conditioning, but because of the way people looked at me when I walked in. My sister sat on the opposite bench, perfectly composed, legs crossed, back straight, dressed like someone who already believed she'd won. Her lawyer whispered something to her, and she smiled, not nervous, not uncertain, just confident. That smile wasn't new. I'd seen it my entire life. It was the same smile she wore when she took something that wasn't hers and watched everyone accept it as normal. The judge hadn't entered yet, but my sister was already acting like the house belonged to her. Our house. The one we grew up in. The one I left behind when everything fell apart. I sat quietly beside my lawyer, hands folded, eyes forward. I didn't look at her. I didn't need to. I already knew what she thought of me. To her, I was the sibling who disappeared, the one who walked away, the one who didn't deserve anything anymore. What she didn't know was that walking away had saved my life. When our mother died, the house became more than just property. It became a battlefield. Memories, resentment, unfinished arguments. All of it lived inside those walls. My sister moved in almost immediately, changed the locks, repainted the rooms, and told everyone she was taking care of things. By the time I returned for the funeral, she was already calling it her home. "You left," she told me then, standing in the doorway like a guard. I stayed. That means it's mine. I was exhausted, grieving, and not ready to fight. So I didn't. I went back to my small apartment, my quiet life, and let her believe she'd won. Months passed. Then a year. Then another. And then one morning a thick envelope arrived at my door. Court papers. She was suing me for full ownership of the house, claiming abandonment, verbal agreements, promises I'd supposedly made and never kept. That's when I realized she wasn't just taking the house. She was rewriting the story. In her version, she was the devoted daughter who sacrificed everything. I was the irresponsible sibling who vanished when things got hard. And people believed her. Neighbors. Extended family. Even some old friends. So when we finally stood in court, she didn't hesitate. The judge asked her to state her claim. She stood up, lifted her chin, and said clearly, confidently, "The house is mine. I lived there. I maintained it. I paid for everything." My sibling left and never looked back. She didn't even glance at me. Her lawyer added more, receipts, statements, carefully, framed truths mixed with convenient omissions. It was convincing. I could feel the weight of the room shift in her favor. Then it was my turn. I stood slowly, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to be steady. My lawyer spoke first, briefly, then nodded to me. I didn't argue her story. I didn't accuse. I didn't raise my voice. I said one sentence. I left because my mother told me to. My sister turned for the first time. The judge paused. That pause, that single moment of silence, changed everything. Because there are things you don't say lightly in court. And there are things judges listen for. Not emotion, not drama, but intent. The judge asked me to explain. And that's when I told the part of the story my sister had spent years burying. I told them about the night my mother got sick, about the arguments, about how my sister wanted control, not care, about how my mother, weak and tired, called me into her room alone and made me promise something that changed my future. "I don't want this house to divide you," she had said. "So I'm making a decision now." I reached into my folder and slid a single document toward my lawyer. My sister laughed. Out loud. "That doesn't matter," she said, shaking her head. "Whatever she thinks she has, it's too late." The judge raised a hand. "Let me read it," he said. And that was the moment, the exact moment my sister stopped smiling. The judge adjusted his glasses and began reading the document in silence. The courtroom. which moments earlier had been filled with confident murmurs and shifting bodies, went completely still. Even my sister's lawyer stopped flipping through his notes. The sound of paper turning felt louder than it should have. My sister leaned back in her chair again, trying to recover her composure. I could tell she was convincing herself this was just another delay, another meaningless formality. She'd lived her whole life believing paperwork only mattered when it favored her. The judge cleared his throat. "This is a notarized directive," he said slowly, "dated 6 months before the decedent's passing." My sister sat forward. "It appears," he continued, "that your mother did not leave the house to either of you outright." Her lawyer immediately stood. "Your Honor, with respect, we were not informed of any." The judge raised a hand. "You will have your turn." He kept reading. The line that mattered came next. The one line my sister never expected to exist. Ownership of the property is to remain in trust. Neither child may claim exclusive rights unless both conditions are met. My sister's breath caught audibly. The judge looked up. Condition 1. Both siblings must agree in writing to the sale or transfer of the property. He paused, then read the second. Condition 2. If either sibling attempts to claim sole ownership, their share is immediately forfeited. The room didn't react all at once. It happened in stages. A sharp inhale from my sister. A whisper from someone in the gallery. My lawyer sitting a little straighter. "That's not possible," my sister blurted out. "She never told me that." The judge's eyes were calm but firm. "Whether she told you or not is irrelevant. The document is valid." Her lawyer jumped in, voice tight. "Your Honor, my client has lived in the house for years. She paid taxes, maintenance, utilities." And, the judge interrupted, "she filed a lawsuit claiming exclusive ownership." Silence. He closed the folder. "By doing so," she said, "she has triggered the forfeiture clause." My sister stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "That's not fair." "I didn't know." The judge's tone didn't change. "The court does not rule on fairness. It rules on law." She turned toward me, eyes wide now, no confidence left. "You planned this?" I shook my head. "No, Mom did." For the first time, the truth landed where it belonged. The judge continued. "As of this ruling, the plaintiff no longer holds any claim to the property. The trust will dissolve, and full ownership transfers to the remaining beneficiary." He looked directly at me. "That would be you." My sister's lawyer sat down slowly, defeated. She remained standing, frozen, as if her body hadn't caught up to what just happened. "No," she whispered. "That house is my life." The judge gathered his papers. "This hearing is concluded." The gavel struck once. That sound ended years of manipulation, entitlement, and quiet theft. Outside the courtroom, my sister finally spoke again. Not with anger. Not with insults. With desperation. "You're really going to take it from me?" I looked at her and felt something unexpected. Not triumph. Not revenge. Just clarity. "I never took anything from you," I said. "You did that to yourself." She laughed weakly. "You left. You always leave." "Yes," I replied. "And that's why I'm still standing." I didn't move back into the house. I didn't sell it immediately either. I let it sit untouched exactly as my mother wanted. Later, I turned it into something she would have been proud of, a place that helped people instead of dividing them. My sister moved out within 30 days. She stopped calling after that. And for the first time in my life, I slept without the weight of someone else's control pressing down on me. Some people think winning means taking everything. Sometimes, winning is simply letting the truth speak and watching the lies collapse on their own.